Hi everyone, welcome. In this video, we're going to look at highway design using Civil Designer's road module in version 9.0. To show you the extent of the road, we're going to do this long stretch of road. We're looking at about 4.5 kilometers. I'm going to start off by going to my display settings. I'm going to turn off all the roads and just turn on the road that we're going to be doing the design of. Before we do the road design, I'm going to show you the option settings where you can design up to 2,500 roads within a single Civil Designer project. I am going to use the interactive road expert that is going to guide me through the design process. In a similar manner, if I need to make changes to my road, the road expert will automatically recalculate the road design. There's different ways that you can do road designs. In this case, I'm going to use a CAD line. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. We're going to use this CAD line and pick up the horizontal and the vertical alignment from it. And then go to File and select Road File. And we're looking at this road that I've created. It's currently incomplete. If we go to the control panel, I've chosen a template and I'll go into more details as far as template is concerned a bit later. Civil Designer picks up the template dimensions and populates the below information accordingly. Take note that we specify which surface we're going to be using and if you want to use a design criteria file or not. You can always go and switch it on at a later stage. Looking at the road layers, you got access to 128 different cross-sectional layers. You can go and customize the display, and it's very easy to go and make changes here and then go and save it and load it at a later stage. While we're busy doing our volumes, Civil Designer gives you the option to also include extra over excavation volumes. If we look at the current design file, you'll see that it's currently blank. And as mentioned, there's different ways that you can do the design. We don't use this CAD line. In that case, we go to alignment, we select regression, extract alignments. It's very easy to swap between a single or dual carriageway, and you can do all your design elements here. For now, I'm just going to pick up the horizontal alignment as well as the vertical alignment. You can go and customize the rounding, the tolerance, and if you want a sample interval. On this diagram, you can go and specify where you want to pick up the vertical alignment levels from, as well as your super elevation grades. The horizontal extract, I'm going to extract it as mentioned before from the CAD entity. I go and select the CAD entity. That stretches for the full length of our road. I'm happy with the highlighted extraction, so I click on yes. Because I've gone and turned on the road expert, Civil Designer will automatically go through the entire road design process now. We're looking at the horizontal alignment where we're going to coordinate, and you can go and be specific with your coordination intervals on straights as well as your curves. During the design process, you have the option of seeing the output of your design. And you could either go and send it to your screen output, which would be on the right of our screen, send it to a printer, or create a text file of it. I'm going to delete any previous road file information that I might already have. In the next step, we're going to extract cross sections along the center line of our road, and we can go and specify the width left and right of the center line, which surfaces and which layers we're working with. Here's the extra over intermediate and hard material I pointed out previously. Please note that you would want to have already validated your ground surface for this. It extracts the cross sections with an additional option here to extract the pivot lines from CAD entities. In this case, I'm going to click No to reject that option. So then to continue with the design, we're looking at the vertical alignment. Again, you can go and specify where you want the results displayed. And then we're looking at the edge level generation. To show you the extent of the road now has been designed. Reverting back to our previous view, straight away you can go to section and view the cross sections. So you don't have to create, I'm just only move my other screen onto the screen. So you don't have to go and create sample lines. And as you move in your cursor, you can see that in the plan view, there's a position of where these cross sections will be. Even though we've done the road design, you can still go and make changes to it. So if, for instance, I go to alignment, horizontal, edit alignment, just showing you here, we've got PI 1. That is the information related to PI 1. If I, for instance, go and change my Y coordinate and I move it and I click elsewhere, the position of PI1 would change. I also have the option then to go to horizontal, and then I could graphically edit, insert, delete, and move PI points. If, for instance, I select move, I can go to PI1 and I can graphically move it. If I go to the beginning of curve or end of curve and select that and move that, it would then dynamically update the horizontal alignment spreadsheet. If you look at our current radius of 10,000, if I go and click elsewhere now, that radius would then be updated. Alternatively, if you've already done the horizontal alignment design and saved it, you could simply right click and go and select not to write the CSV file, but rather to read the CSV file. And I'm then bringing in the highway horizontal curves. Closing that and saving it, Civil Designer will recalculate with the new horizontal design details. At any stage of your design, you could go to Alignment and select Design Criteria. This could be the TRH 17, for instance, that you want to design your road according to. In that case, you go and say Use Design Criteria. You could go and load different design criterias depending on your particular standards. You could take existing design criterias, make changes to these values, not only these values, but any values as far as horizontal, vertical, super sight distance, and curve widening is concerned, and then go and save it as a different file. You would also then go and specify which design speed you'd like to use, and then click on OK. Looking at the vertical alignment, if you recall correctly, when we used this regression extract alignments, we asked Civil Designer to pick up the vertical alignment for us. In that case, if I go to vertical edit alignment, you'll see that it's already been populated. Because this is a dual carriageway, you can swap between the left-hand side and the right-hand side information. If we look at the spreadsheet option, again, there's the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side information. Looking at, for instance, right-hand side, we've got a length of 23. So if I go to graphical view, at the bottom here, I can see I've got right-hand side. I can then zoom in. I can go and right-click, edit PI, select the PI, and then go and make changes to that. I also have the option to right-click, for instance, and move PI, delete PIs, and insert my own PIs. If I do choose to move a PI and it's not according to spec, I will be warned and given the option to either use the minimum curve length or stay with my own curve length. Again, if I've already done the vertical alignment design, I could just read the CSV file. Same thing applies to the left-hand side. Closing that, letting Civil Designer recalculate the road immediately. As far as your super elevation is concerned, if we go to alignment, edge levels, we go and select edit super. This is currently what our grades look like. If we go and view this from a graphical view, the super elevation diagram is presented here at the bottom, where you could go and customize the pen colors that you want to use for your different carriageways. If we go back to alignment, edge levels, and we select slave super, the super elevation will be slaved according to our horizontal curves. And then click on OK to that. I could either do the curves individually, where in this case I've got a radius of 10,000, the direction is to the right, and the current curve length is 2.6 meters. Or what I could do is calculate the entire road super elevation. In that case, I go and select recalculate all. It will go through the recalculation process. If I close it, it will then go and update the grades of my road. So the diagram is updated. I'll just move that better onto my screen. If we go to the spreadsheet, you can see that has also then been updated. If, for instance, you want to make changes graphically, you could go and right-click here, select Edit Point, and then zooming in over here. So I can go and click there, and I could then go and put in change value over there. I could go and change my grades as an example. Alternatively, if I've done the design, I could then again import that. So I'm going to go right click again, select read CSV file, and this time I'm going to select the crossfalls. Happy with that? I'm going to go and close the spreadsheet and recalculate this. In a similar manner, if I want to make changes to the road width, I can go back to alignment, edge levels, edit super. Looking at the current road width, I can right click, select lane widening, click on a start point and an end point. This user-friendly dialog box comes up where you can go and specify the additional width you require, where you want to start with this additional width, and you can go and round that off, where you want to end it, and then the transition from the original width to the additional width. We're looking at applying this to the left-hand side, and we want it on the shoulder side. Click on OK. The diagram would then go and update. We also have additional options here too that you could use to go and put in additional widths. If I go to alignment, we go to edge levels. You can graphically go and insert edge width points and delete them. Alternatively, as before, if you've already done the width design and you want to import it, you can then simply right-click and go and select Read CSV File and bring in that CSV file. And the widths will be updated. Closing the dialog, saving it, and recalculating it. At this stage, you may want to go and generate a plot. No additional work is done. You don't have to create surfaces. You'd go to Plot, select Generate, specify which customizable sheet file you'd like to use, your sheet size, the dynamic layouts that will be positioned at the bottom here. These layouts will dynamically update as you make changes to your road design. Click on Next. Specify the long sectional setup, what you want plotted, if you want the labels, which road layers you'd like to use, if you want your crossing pipes displayed. Click on Next. Specify your cross-sectional setup, including your offset limits and section intervals. I'm going to clear the current setup and I'm going to auto-define the new setup. So I'm going to plot along the road center line or alignment, specify 50 meters overlap, specify the chainage range. I do have the option of specifying a key plan, and I can also go and move existing plot positions. In that case, I'll go to the last plot, moving my cursor. You can see there's a red rectangle. Happy with the new position, no need to rotate it. Right click and quit. Click on Next. Specify if you want schedules or lists associated with these plots. Civil Designer will then go ahead and plot along the road alignment. That takes a couple of seconds. And then looking what we have in front of us, we've got the plan layout, or curve and PI lists, the cross sections, as well as the long sections. And you could go and customize these title blocks according to your project standards. Those layouts will dynamically update as you make changes to your design. When we created this road, I mentioned that you got the use of templates. Let's look at templates in more detail. We go to Tools, select Template Paths. Taking a look at the template that we're using for this current road, then go make this bigger. If we go and select the carriageway, it's very easy to swap between a single, a dual, as well as a dual crowned, where you can have 4 different grades on your cross section. You could also go and specify the different widths. So then go and increase the width from the center line to my pivot point so I can explain median information. If we go and select curbs, we've got a whole library of curbs that is built into Civil Designer by default. We've got the SABS, the British Standards, and the Vanstone curbs. You can edit existing curbs, put in your own dimensions. Civil Designer also works out the quantities and the unit lengths. Once you've made your changes, you could go and save it and then load it at a later stage. Looking at your pavement design or layers, if you right-click, by default, we've got the TRH4 Pavement Designer, where you go and specify your pavement types, your climatic region, your road category, your traffic class, and if you're not quite sure of the traffic class, click on Calculate Class. If you don't want to use the TRH4 pavement, but instead create your own pavement design, that too is possible, where you can select existing pavement designs and then go and add layers, edit layers, delete layers, and go and save them. Moving on to median information, you can treat the left and the right-hand side or the lower and the upper median differently. In this case, the join type is straight or standard. Just to show you that, I'm going to go and put in my own ground quick. And then looking at the standard straight option. If I were to go and change that, instead I'm then going to put in a slope. On the lower median, I'm going to go and put that in at a slope of 1 in -1. So we're going down at 45 degrees. Same thing to the upper median slope. Click on OK. and there's that 1 in -1 slope. Take note that that slope will be applied irrespective of where the ground level is. However, if I go to median, I go and change that median join time to slope plus extract. It will then use the given grades until it reaches the ground level, and it will stop at the ground. Changing my zoom view, on the left-hand side, we've got what we refer to as components. These components are built into the program by default. I do have some of my own components. These components can be applied to different perimeters of your road. As an example, if we're looking at the left compulsory, it may be that you want to go and apply paved footways to the left-hand side. So in that case, I could go and select it, go and move it to where the red arrow is, and let go. That compulsory component will be applied all the time, irrespective of whether our left edge is in cut or fill. Then I could, for instance, take it a step further and say if our left carriageway is in cut, then I want to go and apply a sandrail V-drain. If, however, we are in fill, I'd prefer to replace that V-drain with my New Jersey barrier. And you could go and set up numerous cut and fill perimeters. As an example, I'm going to load another dual carriageway example. And within this example, you might have different cut depths. If you've got a cut depth between 0 and 2 meters, you've just applied that V-drain. And if you increase the depth to, let's say, between 2 and 3 meters, you would also now include gabions. And the deeper the cut depth gets, the more gabions are inserted until eventually the cut depth gets too much. So you replace the gabions with retaining walls. Same thing applies to your right-hand side. It may be that you've got different cut and fill conditions there too. If I go and right click and I go and select add ground, I can go and put in my own ground conditions with the cut and fill depths, press escape. On the left hand side, you can see this retaining wall. And on the right hand side, we got the gabions. That retaining wall's height will differ depending on your varying cut depth. Moving on to junction design. It's very easy to do junction designs. Before I show you the junction design, we actually then go and design this road and apply the junction design to our roundabout. I'm then going to update our display settings. So I'm going to my roads and then activate all of them and then turn off that highway design we've just done. And then to change the current road, we go to File, Select Road File, and we're going to look at this ramp, which is currently incomplete. Like we did before, we go to Alignment, we select Regression, extract alignments. This time it's a single carriageway. We're looking at the horizontal, the vertical alignment, as well as our road edges from CAD. These will be our road edges that we'll pick up from the CAD entities. Click on OK. Specify the CAD entities. It says select the road center line, one element at a time. So I select the center line, and I'm happy with the polyline extraction. Civil Designer's going through the design process, picks up that we can go and put in junctions, and I'm going to say no to that. Again, I'm going to extract the cross sections 20 meters to the left and the right of the center line. Reading my prompt, I need to select the left edge. Go back to the CAD. Now my chainage starts on this side, or my road starts on this side and works its way down. So I've just gone and highlighted the left edge. I'm going to right click, extract the edge. And then same thing for the right-hand side edge. The road design is complete. And next up, we're going to go and put in this junction. And there's many functions that can be used with junction design. If we go to junctions and then click on add junction, indicate the intersecting road, indicate the main road. You can customize your coordination interval. You can change the template, and take note that I didn't have to remove any curves. That is an automatic process. If I go to the left curve, Civil Designer gives me a preview of which is the left and the right-hand side. I could either go and specify my information manually, which I'll do at a later stage, but in this case, again, I'm going to pick up this CAD entity. So I go and select extract from CAD entities, and I go and select indicate. I go to that CAD entity. Once it's selected, I can right click and extract it. Same thing applies to the right hand side. Looking at the center island, once again, I can go and put in my own dimensions using this as a legend. Alternatively, I can pick up my CAD entities again. I can also go and specify a particular curve for my island. Straight away, I'll have the setting out information of these bow miles. Taking a look at our output window, all of the setting out information will be listed. I'll also show you at a later stage how you go about plotting that information. Moving on to mini roundabouts. The objective is to go and put in a three-way mini roundabout over there. Before I do so, I see I've got quite a bit of fill, so I'm going to go and change that. I'm going to go to alignment, vertical edit alignment. Looking at the graphical view here, I'm going to right click, insert PI, press G for ground level, enter, and then go and put in my own curve length there. Close that. Civil Designer will recalculate the road. And let's go and put in that mini roundabout now. We go back to junctions, add mini roundabout, indicate the first intersecting road. So I'm going to select that one. Indicate the main road, in this case is this road. And then if I've got another road, I could select that as well. Alternatively, you can press escape for a three-way. You could go and specify your crossfall. You have different options as far as that is concerned. Specify your curbs. And then looking at the preview, I'm pretty happy with my current dimensions. All of the setting out information will again be listed in the output bar. Moving on to our next junction, I'm going to treat this as an incompleted road. I'm going to go and put in a junction here, and then we'll go and do a plot of that. And then I'll go and put in a cul-de-sac using a CAD layer over there. So zooming in, and then make that the current road. And then I could go to alignment, horizontal. There's the different options available. I'm going to go and select insert. By default, the insert as is by endpoint. And that means if I go and put in additional information, it would be associated to the end of the existing road. I do have the option to go and change that to a different selection, in this case, PI number. And as I go and move that, you can see the dynamic grade is filled in. I could also go and associate that to the start of my road. I want to use the endpoint here, so I'm going to click on that. go close to my main road and go and left click. You don't have to be precisely on the edge or the middle of the main road. I can then right click, select finish, and then press escape. The recalculation process will begin. Civil Designer gives me the option of inserting a cul-de-sac at the start of the road. I'm going to say no for now. And then straight away I could go and put in the default junction information here. And then he's saying no. Just to show you what it looks like if we don't put in a junction yet. Then I go to junctions, I go to add junction, click on the intersecting road, click on the main road. And then move this somewhat out of the way. And then I'm then going to customize this left curve. Looking at what it currently looks like, I'm then going to change the radius. I'm going to use 10. And if I click elsewhere, I can see what the update looks like, the preview. I also want to go and put in a taper value here. Using this as a legend, I can go and customize these values. In addition to all of this, I want to go and put in a left island divider. As this is grayed out, it means that I've got a center island active. I'm going to go and say none and then go back to the left curve. I now have this active, so I can go and select divider island. If I've got it from CAD, I can pick it up there. Alternatively, I can go and customize these dimensions. Happy with the dimensions? Looking at this diagram, I click on OK. Looking at the right curve, also happy with the current dimensions there. I could go and specify different vertical grading for my bow mouths. I have the option of linear or S-curve. Having done that, we got what I refer to as verification tools. So you can, for instance, go and turn on your road contours as well as the slope arrows, and that would be for the entire road surface, not just the edges. Some additional tools worthwhile mentioning is your drainage display, where you could go and specify. Civil Designer needs to go and highlight a flat slope within your road. You don't want a flat slope because that would then create ponding. In addition to that, you can go and show high or low points, specify a particular symbol and the size of the symbol, and then the high point elevation. Same applies as mentioned to the low points. If you turn it on and you find that you want to go and make changes, you can go back to junctions, edit junction, click on that junction and go and make changes to it. Alternatively, you could go to junctions, bow mouth editor, go and select a bow mouth and go and view the bow mouth in long section. As you go and move your cursor in the long section, you'll see that the cursor moves in plan, giving you a good idea as to the position in long section. You can go and make changes here. You could, for instance, go and select a vertex and move it to another position. You could, for instance, go and interpolate elevations between two vertices. I'm over exaggerating the changes I'm making here just to emphasize the functionality. But then you could also go and say, give me a vertical curve starting from there, ending over there, and going through that particular point. I'm not going to go and save that. And having made those changes, I can go back to my display settings and turn off the road contours and slope arrows. If I want to go and plot this with the setting out details, I can go to plot generate, go and select which of Civil Designer's customizable sheet files I'd like to use. what sheet size I want to use, and then I'm going to create those layouts at the bottom here that will dynamically update. We'll also give you the BIM naming standard files to choose from. And then here, all the current plotting out information. I'm going to change my scale, and then I'm going to add my plot region. So moving that, everything within the rectangle will be plotted. No need for rotation in this case. Right-click and quit. If you do want lists associated with the plot, you could activate them here. Click on Finish, click on OK. I've color-coded the coordinates. So on the island, we've got the labels, and you could go and customize the interval of these labels as well as the text size. And then zooming out, I've also gone and labeled the bow miles. And you could move that to whatever position required. You don't have to go and define viewports for these tables. You also don't have to go and mask the background. As mentioned, if you do go and make changes to your design, these dynamic layouts will update. Looking at cul-de-sac design, we don't go and place a cul-de-sac over here. And before I do the design, I'm going to go and turn on a CAD layer. This is a nice example if, for instance, you're doing parking lots with irregular shapes. I go to Junctions, Add Cul-de-sac, indicate the position of the cul-de-sac, and then browsing through the different options available, I can see the preview of the current dimensions. And in this case, we want to pick up the cul-de-sac from CAD. I select Indicate, click on the polyline, right-click, select Extract String. Again, I have the option to go and apply a curve, as well as my string coordination interval. All the setting out information will be displayed in our screen output. If you'd like to go and label these, it's again very easy. You go to Alignment, go to Strings this time, select Add Linked Linear Dimension. Indicate your first point, your last point, and then move your cursor to where you want your dimension to be. If you're looking at these circles or curves, I'm going to go back to where we were before, but this time I'm going to go and select Link Radial Dimension, where you'd go and select 3 vertices, and then go and move the position of the text. If you're looking at placing culverts beneath the road, in this case, we've got a stream that's flowing towards the eastern side. I want to put in the culvert beneath the road. We do so by going to Auxiliary Services, graphically indicate auxiliary service, specify the start point. So I'm going to go to the left edge, left click, go to the right edge, left click. Civil Designer prompts, if we want to put in head walls, I'm going to click on yes. This user-friendly dialog box appears where you could go and specify a different link name. Number of links, the dimension of the links, and if you want to extract the invert levels of this culvert, built-in Civil Designer will use the surface that you specify here and apply a offset or constant to that surface when calculating the inverts. If you want to go and apply your head walls, you can click on Node Structure Parameters and custom your head wall perimeters. Changing the layer name that this information will be saved on. If you want to go and specify your BIM category, you can do so. And then you add the skew section to the road. So the skew section is created. Position of the culvert is indicated. And if we look in the plan view, the head walls are also inserted. This can also be viewed in a three-dimensional rendering. As far as changing your road widths is concerned, I've got a nice example here that I want to show you. I'm going to use some CAD layers. I'm then go and turn on those CAD layers. So the objective, first of all, we'll apply additional width to the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to explain a function called point control, where we'll have a V-drain that follows the position of this red dashed line. So let's just apply the additional width on the left-hand side. We will retain the existing crossfall that we've got. Go to alignment, we go to regression. I'm going to extract strings. Looking at the left edge, when we apply this additional width, I want to retain the existing crossfall. Click on OK. Go and select the CAD layer, right-click and extract the string. That additional width is added. If I go back to section graphical edit, look at the existing width. And as we move along the road, you'll see how the width going in the wrong direction. Let's go the other way. As we move along the road, you'll see how the additional width is applied using the existing grade. And if we go and move that down there, until eventually it will revert back to the original width. So that was the left-hand side. With the right-hand side, as mentioned, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to go and apply a point control. To explain point control, I'm going to go to Tools, Template Paths. I'm going to bring in a new template. And let's give it a name of PC for point control. Just to show you what this point control looks like, I'm then going to select Write Compulsory. This point control over here, I simply inserted by putting in this information here. So I went and put in a horizontal movement from this barrier of 200 mils and then a 50 mil drop. So we're looking at that point there and I labeled it PC1. That point is going to move depending on this CAD line over here. So when I'm finished, you're going to see how this V-drain moves further away from the barrier as well as drops its position. Right, let's go and close that. I'm going to first bring in that template to be associated with our road. And I do so over here. Let's go and make that a bit smaller. I'm then to insert it at chainage 130. I put in 130 and I'm going to use that PC. I'm going to continue with that template until chainage 230 and then I'll revert back to the original template. Let's take a look at what that looks like before we actually apply the point control rules. Take a look at the plan drawing. It updates, but currently the V-drain will stay in the same position relative to the barrier. Let's take a closer look at this. I go to Section, Graphical Edit. Go to where the road starts with the new template, and then look at the position of the V-drain relative to the barrier. It stays in the same position. Now also take note that I've gone and put in a green line here, indicating a stream. So we actually want the V-drain to be at the lowest point over there. Let's go and apply our point control. We go to Alignment, Regression, Point Control Rules. Point control name is PC1. We'd only apply just to that one particular template. You can turn it on and off. You could specify if you want to apply it in just the horizontal, vertical plane, or both. And then you also have different height options where you could go and give it a fixed height. You could interpolate it off a particular surface. You could retain the grade, the existing crossfall grade, or you could go and apply a constant. In our case, we don't pick up the entity information. So I select target. I go and click on the CAD entity. And then you could be more specific and specify a start and end change. Reapply the template. And if we revert back to the cross section, you will see how the V-drain position changes. Zooming in there and then just pressing page down. There you can see a huge step to the right for the V-drain, and then it goes down until eventually it will reach a low point where the stream is positioned. And then it will revert back to the original width and then to the original template. We've also got a signage module that you can utilize with the roads. If I go to signage, I'm then go to road signs, add road signs. You could go and specify which file to use. We've got the SADC spec that is built in. You aren't limited to choice. You can go and filter it out if you're looking for something specific, and the preview would then be updated. Specify the signboard size, your height, material, and we give you so much options because Civil Designer can work out all the quantities for you. You could, for instance, go and increase the number of supports, the offset or the spacing between the supports, and then looking at things like the foundation. So looking at the preview, the foundation would then be updated. And then go and select Control Regulatory and then get rid of our filter. And then use this as an example. Reading my prompt, it says indicate position of road sign. I go and left click. I don't want to jump to anywhere specific, so I'm going to change my snap mode. I'm then going to place the signboard where I want it to be and left click, and then go and specify in which direction I want it to point towards. Right click and quit. Now, while we are busy doing this, I'm doing this all in 2D. Behind the scenes, Civil Design is creating a 3D model, which I will show you shortly. If we go back to road markings this time, I'm going to select linear markings, regulatory markings, left edge line. I'm then purposely use the wrong offset, click on the green tick, and then go just to the inside of my edge and left click. It goes and puts in the left edge, but it's not in the correct offset position. Instead of deleting it and redoing it, I could go to my properties bar and change the offset position. It will then go and update that. Take note With the signboard and the linear marking, if I were to go and make changes to the road, both the signboard and the linear marking will be updated. Show you an example of that. I'm going to go and move the position of this junction somewhat. Press escape and then recalculate that particular road. No need for additional cul-de-sac information, so I'm going to say no to that. Once done, you can see the signboard's been moved, but not the road marking. In that case, I go back to road markings, select recalculate, and the road marking would then be updated. Let's go and put in some yield information here. So I'm going to go to traverse marking, yield line, and then include the yield marking. Happy with all the other dimensions, I click on the green tick, specify where I want this line to be. And then Civil Designer will also measure the lane width as well as the offsets. So it makes it quite easy to go and put in this additional yield marking information. Once you've done it a couple of times, you know what to look out for. If I right click and I go to paint settings, Civil Designer would also work out the quantities. You can go and create your own paint types if need be. And the last thing I want to show you here is your linear road furniture. I'm going to go and put in a barrier on the edge of my road. You can take your CAD drawing and convert it into this linear road furniture. Go and click where I want this road furniture to be, and then right click and quit. As mentioned, while we were busy doing that, we were doing it all in 2D. Behind the scenes, I created a 3D model for us. Let's take a look at that, and then you right click, select render view, and then change the view perspective. Very important with your roads is also your quantities. I go back to the roads mode, look at area volume. We give you numerous options to choose from: mass all volumes, cumulative volumes, layer work volumes, curb quantities, component quantities, and if you recall the components or your V-drains, your barriers, for instance, the road signs, the road markings. We also give you an option of report quantities. That would be all the roads associated with your project, and it would be subdivided into different categories. If you want to save this all as a CSV file, you could go and write all to file and then save it as a CSV or XLS. Default combined would be a report of all the roads together. Alternatively, what you could do is select custom report, give it a report name, specify the report type, and then select the roads that you want included in this custom report. You can always go and right click at a later stage and go and edit that report. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it.